Welcome to Base Camp. I'm Pastor Pat. I voted. Yep, it's that time of year when we here in the United States get to pick our leaders. It's a pretty amazing privilege and responsibility that we have as citizens, plus we get a cool sticker. The idea of normal, everyday people getting to vote for their leaders is actually pretty new. For most of history, either the strongest got to rule or the child of someone who had been the strongest got to rule. Most of those people were called kings. But in ancient Israel, the leader wasn't elected or a king. You see, ancient Israel was led by God. Now, you would think that God would be a pretty good leader. He always knows and does what's right, no army could defeat him, and he cares about every single person in the nation. No way anyone would want to trade that in for some other arrangement, right? Well, you'd like to think that. It sure is nice living in a country ruled by God, don't you think?
I guess.
What do you mean, you guess?
Well, have you seen the king of the Amorites? I mean, he has long, silky, smooth hair. It must be nice having a king with long, silky, smooth hair.
Long, silky, smooth hair? That's your criteria for a good king. We have God himself, and you want to trade that for hair.
I know, it's just so silky, you know? And do you have any idea what God's hair looks like?
No.
Exactly. I would follow someone into battle with hair like that any day. It would be a privilege to follow him just to watch his hair. I wonder if he uses conditioner.
I think that you left your conditioner in too long.
Okay, forget the Amorite king. Have you seen the Philistine king?
You mean the guy who just led an army against us?
Yeah, his biceps, they're huge. That guy most definitely has a gym membership.
You do remember that God crushed him and his huge biceps, right?
Well, sure, but that's not really a fair fight. I mean, nobody could beat God in a battle. But compare him to other people? Whoa.
Right, but we're not comparing him to other people. We're comparing him to God. Actually, no, we're not, because there is no comparison.
How about the king of the Edomites? His clothes always look so fine. His shirts actually sparkle. Sparkle! I love sparkly things.
God made the stars. Those sparkle.
No, those twinkle. There's a difference. I want a king who sparkles. And Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, he's got amazing palaces and pyramids.
You do realize who built those palaces, right?
Sure do. His many servants and slaves.
Right, and who were his slaves?
That's not important right now. What's important is he's got them. Why can't we have a king like that?
Because we have God. We don't need a king.
I want one. Everybody else has one. Why can't we have one?
Because he'll take our children and make them run with his chariots and horses. He'll make people serve in his army and have others make his weapons for them. He'll force some of them to be farmers to grow food for him. He'll make our daughters work for him. He'll take our best fields and crops and everything else we grow or make and use it for him and his buddies. He'll tax us and give our money to his friends. He'll make people be his servants. He'll take away the animals that we use for our farms. He'll make us be his slaves. We'll be miserable. And we'll no longer have God to protect us because we'll have traded him for a king.
Right. But other than all that, what's not to love? I mean, we'd be like everybody else.
Is the Amorite king's hair really that silky?
You know it.
Okay, I'm in. Believe it or not, That's actually what happened. In 1 Samuel chapter 8, the Israelites looked at all the nations around them, saw their kings, and decided that they wanted to be like them. The prophet Samuel tried to warn them. He reminded them that they had God himself for their king and that he had never and would never fail them. He pointed out all the negative things that having a king would mean, how a king's number one priority was himself and not his people. They didn't care. All they saw was how good the people around them had it, and they wanted that for themselves. They basically traded being children of God for being slaves of a king. It's easy for us to compare what everyone else has to what we don't have. People who aren't following God might look like they are having fun, getting things that they want, doing whatever they please. Meanwhile, we're over here loving God and loving others. Living for yourself can look so good, but is it? In Romans chapter 6, the Apostle Paul knew that some believers in Jesus were looking at all the sin the people around them were doing and were being tempted to do it themselves. He reminded them and us that though sin might look fun for a season, in the end, you become its slave. It has complete control of you. And it was those very things that resulted in us needing the saving grace of Jesus in the first place. In Romans chapter 6, verse 21, he says, "What benefit did you reap at that time from the things you are now ashamed of? Those things result in death." Don't be fooled by the flashiness or sparkliness of the sinful world around you. It might look good for a moment, but in the end, it controls you and destroys you. Following God, on the other hand, leads to freedom, life, and eternity as God's child. No amount of temporary sparkliness can compete with that. I'm Pastor Pat with Base Camp, a ministry of Summit Church in beautiful Bozeman, Montana. We would love to have you join us for live services sometime. We meet every Sunday at 10 o'clock. You can also catch us online at summitchurchmt.com or by checking out our Facebook and YouTube channels at Summit Church MT. Our children's ministry Facebook page is Base Camp Kids Min. When watching our videos, please like, comment, subscribe, and share them. This helps the mysterious algorithms know to show them to you and others more often. Plus, seeing those little thumbs up make me smile. If you live in a place where there are elections going on, be sure to pray and vote. But no matter where you live, be sure to keep making God your true king. He will always lead you right. Bye!
Quick, put on your sunglasses. Here comes the Edomite king.
Wow, that is a sparkly shirt.
Right?